Hello, everybody. We're just having everybody join in.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Bobby.
How are you doing?
Hello. Hello.
It's good to see you.
Yes, we've spoken so much, but never actually seen each other.
Oh, it's so nice. Cool.
And there we have Rohan on the other side of the screen.
Hi, Rohan.
Hi, how are you guys doing?
Really good, really good. Can you both hear and see me okay?
I can hear you, but I can't see anybody.
Oh.
I was getting a call, I had to cut it, yeah. Everybody's connections are fine, everybody can see, everybody can hear, all good.
I can't see anyone.
You can't see anyone. Meaning?
No, I can't
People can
see
see you.
I can
You
see
can't
both
see
of
your
you.
Mikolaj?
Yep, I can see both of you.
Rohan, can you see
no.
us?
No, I can't.
Do you want to drop off and come back again?
Sure, let me do that.
Yeah.
Yay, how was your day?
My day was good. My day was good. It's Friday, closed up at work and had a quick dinner, came back home, prepared for this, and now I'm here. How was yours? It's still evening for you, right?
Yeah, yes, it's evening now, and yeah, today was my day off, so super chill, get some coffee with a friend, and yeah, very enjoyable day.
Nice.
Nice. Rohan, can you see us both now?
I can see you, Mikolaj, but I can't see Bobby.
Oh.
Lovely.
No, don't worry about it. I think let's just start.
Okay.
I can hear you all very clearly.
He's seen me enough. It's okay. All right. But you can hear us fine, right?
Very clear. Very clear.
Sweet.
Very good. So I'm going to escape my little responsibility and let you both introduce yourselves.
Mikolaj, you can start, my friend.
Okay, my name is Mick. Hi everybody, and yeah, I'm a coffee roaster and generally just an interested coffee person. Let's call it. Yeah, I think that's good.
I'm Rohan. I'm a sixth generation coffee grower from India. My family started off by growing tea. We took over the Brookpond tea estate from the British when they were leaving India. And then we slowly started expanding into coffee. Now we do a lot of mixed crops. So we have coffee, tea, pepper, timber, and arecanut, mostly situated in Chikmagalur. Extremely passionate about coffee, and I love my Robustas. So I think this is a good topic to have.
Amazing.
Good. That's a good introduction. All right.
Bobby, why
Well, way
don't
better than
why don't
You want me to
Bobby,
introduce
why don't we?
myself?
Yeah, why not? Well, we've
I'm
done it.
hosting
You should
the
too.
live. You're asking the host to introduce herself, really?
No, it's
Why not?
okay. I'm just excited to chat to you guys. So
Rohan, why don't you introduce me? That should be fun. He says very good things about me. It's like a cheap thrill. I enjoy it.
No. Let's just start talking then.
Okay, we'll start. For anybody who doesn't know me, I'm Bhavi. I go by Banjaran Foodie on Instagram. My full-time job is something else, but I'm very passionate about coffee. I have a degree in dairy technology that helps me understand food in particular. I read a lot. I love learning new things. I love traveling. I love food. And of late, I've been writing about coffee for different publications. So at some point, you might have seen my work somewhere. If not, all the links to my work are in the bio. Please go and see it.
They're really good articles. So
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I agree. I agree.
Thank you.
Great.
Okay, first and very importantly, I have a question that is, some people say Canephora, some people say Robusta. Is it the same thing? Is there a difference? Or do people say whatever they want to? How is it?
Rohan, do you want to take that?
Sure. Why not? I think it's just used interchangeably. Mostly in India, we say Robusta, and I think it's just a scientific name that is being thrown around right now. Maybe it's a good marketing tactic to disguise the term Robusta with Canephora and push sales of Robustas. Who knows?
Okay. Yeah, I feel like Robusta is used, like at least here in Europe, Robusta is used kind of like an umbrella term, to like encompass all the varieties of Robusta or Canephora all together in kind of one bag, which is always what strikes me as a little bit of a negative when people say Robusta. I feel like, oh, so everything's in one bag now, which is why I've always been pushing for Canephora. Not that I have anything against Robusta, but I don't like the negative connotation that comes with the word itself. And I think if we can be so specific with Arabica and we have so many varieties and they're so well cataloged, I would really like to start working towards doing the same with Canephora and recognizing that there are different varieties with different qualities and so on.
I would like to add there, in India, we've actually taken Robustas for granted, where we kind of mix old Robusta and condenses into Robusta and just bulk it and make very good double washed Robustas. But now we've come across newer varieties like a TR9, which has a beautiful flavor, bolder size beans. And I totally agree with you. I think we are reaching a stage where we are pushing the boundaries of Canephora and trying to showcase how good this variety of coffee really is. So maybe it is required that we move away from the term Robusta and showcase how good the Canephora is.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that like any direction that starts recognizing the diversity and different qualities of different parts of that topic will be amazing.
Okay. I'll tell you what I know about this so far, because I was also digging into this.
Okay.
The actual species name is Coffea canephora, and Robusta is one of the varieties of Canephora, is what I understand. That's what I found on World Coffee Research, because they're doing a lot of work on Robusta right now. And because Robusta is cross-pollinated, there's so much variation in every variety that even a producer cannot with 100% certainty say that if their block X has a particular variety, say CXR, all the CXR plants in that block will be 100% CXR is no guarantee.
Yeah.
You can say that about Arabica because it's not cross-pollinated, but Robusta you can't.
Okay. Endless varieties.
Yes. And in that also there's a lot of variations. Not all varieties can pollinate other varieties.
Okay. That's really
That's
interesting.
what I found out.
I know a lot of people have been like struggling with like working with natural borders to kind of keep it separate, right?
But you know what we do in the farm is we have our own nurseries and we select the mother plant, so we know exactly what variety we are planting in. So I think it all boils down to from farm to farm what you're planting.
So by the variation, what I meant was it will be very minute genetic variation.
All right.
The full and final differences, like actual perceivable differences, might take many generations to present itself. And in that also
Right.
it keeps cross-pollinating further. So there's 2 articles on World Coffee Research website. Anybody who's interested, DM me after the live, please.
Amazing.
I will be happy to share, or just Google World Coffee Research. They have lots of good work on Robusta that is worth reading. Okay. What would be the top 3 things that come to your minds when I say Canephora? Who's going first?
The top 3 things?
Yes.
Mick, please go ahead. Go ahead. I'll wait for your answer.
I don't know. I think that my answer to that kind of changed over the last 2 years. It used to be kind of like the stereotypes that, you know, used to come to mind. But the last 3 years, like, so much has changed in how Canephoras are perceived, and also how many roasters start offering them. So one of the things that comes to mind now is that I really hope it's not going to be a fast trend. I really hope it's kind of here to stay in this, specialty coffee circle.
So, what are the 3 words?
Yeah, I was just going to ask that same question.
What are the 3 words?
Oh, am I supposed to say all 3? Okay. Yeah, definitely like a lot of opportunity for learning and exploring a whole new species. That would be the second one. And yeah, I don't know. There's so many things. It's so hard to choose the last one, but yeah, just take your pick. Anything. Yeah.
Rohan, what about you?
For me, from a grower's point of view, it's a hardy plant, higher yield. From a cupping perspective, our coffees are known to be buttery mouthfeel, clean.
You're supposed to give me 3 words, not 3 sentences.
Well, tough to give you 3 words.
Bold, earthy, nothing. 3 words.
Take 3 sentences. You know I like to talk about my coffee, so ask me to give 3 words is a very, very tough thing to do.
Okay, go on. We'll listen. Go on.
Yeah, there. Vivek himself says that Rohan loves his sentences. Thank you, visuals.
I should have made you type those sentences. It would have been shorter.
No, but and I think just the next wave, an alternative. It's the new thing to drink.
Yeah, and maybe just also like actually making coffee more inclusive in general, right? Because like so many people got excluded from the initial idea of like third wave. It's such
There's a very famous coffee consultant, Rob Hoos. Okay, Rob Hoos. You've heard of him?
Yeah.
I might be saying the name wrong. He did a recent exercise where he would take one variety of Arabica and make us all, anybody who's interested can fill a Google form where you're actually supposed to say 3 words about every variety. So if it's Typica, you pick 3 words you associate with it. I didn't get any 3 words here. I still don't know what you guys think with Canephora. 3 words, guys. 3 words. Not very hard.
Sorry, these were meant to be 3 words. Oh god, I got so confused. Super duper.
Somebody says Canephora. What are 3 words that you will describe it with or comes to your mind? Like for a random person who's not very friendly towards Canephoras or who's never had it, could say harsh, could say bold, could say bitter, could say high caffeine, anything like that. 3 words. See, it's very easy.
Sorry.
It's like you're being reprimanded by a school teacher. She's gonna put us in a corner now.
Very nice.
I'm already in the corner. Yeah, so okay, 3 words.
Yes, please.
No, I can't.
It's okay. I give up on this question. I'll move to the next. What are
I'll go. I'll go. Hardy, buttery, and very, very flavorful.
Very,
okay.
Very flavorful. The last one was 3 words
So,
in itself.
Hey, that's a technicality.
Thank you, mate. Thank you.
Okay.
Good. Good. That was the aim of this question. Yes. What are the most common perceptions you hear about Canephora? Could be good, could be bad, could be some very weird, out of the world things you've heard about it that you just can't wrap your head around. Anything.
Okay.
Also,
Keep.
before you answer this question,
Yeah.
we all forgot to mention that Mick has written 2 very amazing books. One of which is about Canephora, and whose name I will make Mick say himself because it's too long for me to say. And I didn't write it down, so I'm pretty sure I'll get it wrong.
It's called I would like your fruitiest, funkiest, most fermented Canephora on the menu.
And it's
Oh,
a very
nice.
good book. It's a really, really good book where Mick talks with a very open mind about how his own journey went from not at all being open to Canephoras to coming to love the variety.
Yeah.
And
How do
he's also
we get a
giving
hand?
tips about
How do we
how
get
to
our
go
hands on
around.
it?
I think you maybe have a copy, Bobby. You do, right?
Yes.
Yes. I
I'll
think that's
lend
the
it to
easiest.
him.
Yeah, or else through Sudhang in Germany.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
best thing is we'll put you in touch with a buyer who will buy it in bulk and then sell it in India.
Perfect.
I'll call Suhas and tell him in the morning. Suhas, we need this book. And he'll help out. Okay. What are the most common perceptions? Anyways, people should read that book, okay? Even if you never want to have Canephora again, please just read that book. It's a good book. And it's not very long and it's not very heavy on your head. It's very easy to read. Okay, back to my question. What are the most common perceptions, please?
Common perceptions. Mick, I'll jump in. Purely because I had the experience recently where I gave Robustas to someone who's tasting coffee for the first time. And very boldly, I gave him a Robusta. And the first thing he told me was very papery. And I think, unfortunately, the misconception with Robustas is that harshness, the bitterness, um, which comes through. And I think no matter how much we ferment and how much we clean our coffees, there's always going to be a little bit of a different flavor profile compared to the Arabicas that people are so used to drinking. So unfortunate that most people have a very negative connotation with Canephora, but I think it is changing, and it is changing quickly in the West, and the rest of the world is just going to follow suit.
I think so too. Yeah, it needs to, right?
It really does. It really does.
I think
So
the
Rohan here
common-
has given people Canephoras without telling them it is Canephoras. He has tricked people saying this is this, and just let them taste only to tell them later that it is Canephora. And then people are like, oh my God, was it a Canephora?
Yeah,
He's also
I don't know. I feel
made,
like so
made
many.
people get all jittery and shivery by giving them Canephoras, and poor people.
It's a good technique, or like at the end of the day, it's coffee. Like, if not for all the bad stigmas, people wouldn't really care if it's Canephora or not, right? If it tastes good, it tastes good.
Yeah.
This
That
is
is very
like
true.
Yeah.
how there's cola wars always, right? It's always Pepsi versus Coke. And when the tasting is done, when people know that they're tasting which glass is Coke and which glass is Pepsi, the preference is always towards Coke.
Yeah.
But when there is a blind tasting, more often than not, people have preferred Pepsi. At least that is what has been found in the United States. And Pepsi makes a big deal out of it because in blind tasting, it always rules. This is something like
I
that.
think yeah, but also with Canephora and in this topic that it has so many negative things. You know, I often wonder, is it just problem with roasters and buyers? Because like these opinions they have so much impact in that area, right? But like when we do sell it to customers, most of them don't mind, they don't notice, or they don't care. You know, it's coffee that tastes good, and the most struggle I have communicating Canephora to our other roasters and baristas that have certain expectations already, certain narrow opinions in their head about what it is meant to be.
Absolutely.
So,
in fact, that is also what I keep telling my roaster buyers and friends is just do a small blending of the Robustas with the Arabicas. Have a look at how vastly the cup improves when you make an espresso. And if you have clients who have a negative thought towards the coffee, just don't say it. Give it to them blind. Let them taste it without knowing what they're drinking. Give the cup give it free to them. You know, ultimately there's going to be one shot of espresso. Let them taste it. Let them see what that cup really has. And then if they don't like it, fair enough. You gave it a shot. But 8 out of 10 people are going to say, wow, the body is so much more deeper, so much more rounder. And the cup tastes so much better. So don't knock it till you've tried it, is what I would say as a grower.
Absolutely. And maybe I will add to this that as also baristas and roasters, maybe many are not used to working with Canephoras. So the concept of roasting it in a way that it will taste good using the equipment you use for extracting it or brewing it or serving it is also like a topic that needs to be kind of addressed at some point. Because I think if we learn to roast it better and brew it better and not like we've always done with everything, it's just gonna be the overall perception will kind of improve. I hope. Fingers crossed.
It will. You know, maybe 8-9 years ago, if you asked me, is Robusta being accepted, I would have said no. But now in India as well, when you're looking at the cafes and what is being offered, there is a little bit of a blend that is going into the coffee, and people are enjoying it.
Absolutely.
So I'm sorry?
Yeah, no, I just said yes, absolutely. Sorry.
Yeah. So I think the wave is there. You're seeing newer markets accepting it. It used to be only Italy that was really following through on enjoying Robustas, and now you're seeing it all over the place. Australia, Greece, Sweden also started enjoying some Robustas. So it's surprising. You know, Scandinavia likes their Arabicas, and now we're seeing people enjoying Robustas as well.
Yeah. It's great to see.
Yeah.
Okay. So with the Canephora species being so diverse, it has so many varieties and there's so much diversity, why are we still hung up on associating Canephora with everything unpleasant and unacceptable? How did Canephoras almost completely get left out of the third wave of coffee? Because it was a big deal in second wave.
Yeah, I think third wave was so desperate to leave second wave behind. Like so desperate, it wanted to leave many people who enjoyed these drinks behind as well and focus on a new market, which I think was a mistake, but yeah, it's what happens. So, and Canephora Robusta was included in that in a way. I think the market wanted to find coffees that are really great to drink without milk or sugar. And because we are so horrible at roasting and brewing Canephora, of course, it was left behind. Sadly, also like perceptions of origins of where Canephora is from. I think. Oh yeah, I disappeared. Hi. Played a big part of that because so many people have like a perception of like Colombian coffee is super great and coffee from Ethiopia is this or that. Oh my god, sorry, my phone keeps falling. I'm just gonna hold it.
Why don't you take a minute and have it settle in? It's okay.
Yeah, wait. Okay. Now. And like because Canephora is mostly grown in in countries that haven't had such great marketing in regards to coffee, like, I don't know, Vietnam, India, or Indonesia, you know, it's, yeah, the associations need to change.
Uh, I, I think the whole problem with why we are hung up with associating it as unpleasant is purely because we are attacking this problem all wrong. We are trying to force the issue onto consumers to say, hey, try this. It's really good. We must understand that people are now used to drinking Arabicas, which are a lot cleaner, a little bit more delicate, more flavorful compared to a Canephora. We need to make small changes. Uh, I mean, we just look at India to start. Um, 10 years ago, if I offered people black coffee, they would have just given the cup back to me. Because in India, they all like it with milk and sugar. And in 2018 or 19, when we had the Barista Championship, I would offer black coffees at the stall and people would just leave the cup and go. The last Barista Championship that we had in India last year and at the stall and at the WCC, which we had, everybody I offered a black coffee to drank it. And there was nothing left in the cup. It wasn't just to taste it, it was to finish it. So looking at the market, the way it is going, the change is already there. You're seeing the taste palette, the palettes changing amongst the consumers, and just give it time. There are always going to be people who back Robustas. There are a lot of growers in India doing phenomenal things with their Robustas on fermentation, on handling, and processing. That when people start tasting clean Robustas, you know, it's not that usual harsh cup of coffee that you're going to get. It's a clean cup. You know, it coats your mouth with popcorn butter, and it's just a phenomenal cup. We will start noticing this change of people saying it's unpleasant and unacceptable to saying, why not? Why don't I add 10% of that into my cup and see what happens? And we will see a change. You're seeing it in the West, who was so gung-ho about Arabicas. You're going to start seeing it in India too. And I'm happy to say that a lot of the roasters that we sell to are using Robustas as well. And the change is there.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm definitely seeing the change as well. I mean, when we started first roasting Canephora in 2020 with Sudhang, you know, nobody really was doing Canephora, and now so many places started offering pure Canephora for filter coffee and for espresso, and people are really into it and they're liking it, and they're starting to appreciate more and more the variety. So it's amazing.
Yeah, and I think in Australia, there's a gym that sells 100% Robusta as an energy drink. You know, instead of having the aerated, artificially sugared drinks, there's a 100% Robusta that's being offered as an energy drink. So sky's the limit at this point in time. We can only move forward and not back.
Amazing, yeah.
Okay. We also have a Robusta only cafe in India, which has been doing pretty well. They turned one recently, just while the live was starting. It was Naina calling me. She owns the cafe. It's in Hyderabad, and they only have Robusta.
That's so crazy.
Also, India also has a Liberica only cafe. They only have Liberica.
Wow.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Incidentally, the cafe became more famous for their Berliners and not so much for their coffee.
Okay.
Their Berliners were so good that people from German embassy went down to try it out, what the big deal is about, and they were quite impressed, is what I heard. I've never been there myself, but maybe next time I'm in Bangalore, I'd like to.
Okay. Let me know how it goes. Send some pictures.
I will. All right. So a large part of the world still consumes instant or soluble coffee, right? Not everybody is on the specialty bandwagon. Not everybody is taking the 10-15 minutes it'll take to grind and brew and all that. People still use a lot of instant, right? And when it comes to instant, it's largely Canephoras. And quite a lot of us, for us, the first introduction to coffee was instant coffee. For me, I know it was. My first introduction to coffee was Nescafe from my mother's cup. So for that, and we all understand that at the end of the day, we want a cup of coffee that is relatable to what our idea of coffee is in our head, right? Because we will perceive the flavor, the aroma, the taste of coffee in a particular way that makes sense to our brains. We keep an open mind, we try new things, but what will be closest to our appreciation would likely be something that fits into our idea of coffee. It's like when I say strawberry ice cream, it has to be pink in color. I can't give you a green color strawberry ice cream and say, enjoy this now. Something like that.
Oh, that's amazing.
So, it's an experiment we do. It's something we did when I was studying sensory evaluation, organoleptic testing. So for one semester, our professors make us do all these kind of experiments, and we train our palates to taste everything from 0.5% salt solution, 0.5% sugar solution, all the way to 10%. That's a lot of palate training that goes on. Anyway, that's not the point. So because a lot of us have been drinking instant before we realized, oh my God, specialty is there, how come we still find it so difficult to accept the idea of Canephoras? Because it should ideally fit into our mindset of how we perceive coffee if we've been an instant drinker. Is my question.
Yeah.
I think it's two different things, to be honest with you. Instant coffee is a drink of convenience, where people don't want to waste too much time on the therapeutic beauties of brewing your own cup of coffee in the manual way. The new generation, or at least when we were all growing up, you just throw a little bit of Nescafe into your glass and stir it and guzzle it down and run out. So I think it's two different things that you're talking about. Like, you can't compare an instant coffee to why people are not enjoying Canephora. At least that's what I think. I don't know, Mick, what do you think?
I get you both. I think I've heard from a lot of people when they try Canephora for the first time, this like nostalgic feeling of, oh, this is how my grandma used to drink her coffee, or this smells or tastes like my grandma's coffee. And I know a lot of people do enjoy nostalgia. I think maybe my generation particularly is kind of addicted to nostalgia anyway. Yeah, it's I think that feeling is a thing. And yeah, I've definitely heard it before. Yeah.
Yeah. It makes sense, right? Because our brains will ideally process it like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think maybe I wasn't so lucky with my first coffee experience, because it's the Canephoras I drink today definitely don't remind me to my first cup of coffee.
They don't mostly do that for me also. But then as a kid, like, we were the family who would sometimes have bread butter for dinner. And my dad would have his cup of tea. My mother would have a cup of coffee. Now I would see both of them dunking their slices of bread and butter in their respective cups. I was there with mostly nothing, or maybe Bonvita. And me wanting what the other person is having, I would dunk my bread in my mother's cup, which was coffee. That was how I first had coffee.
Nice. Okay.
Eventually, my mother gave up, and she was like, "I'll make you one of yours, please."
Yeah.
I don't share coffee.
No, but then as a baby, I would take her cup of ice cream the moment she started eating, because I wanted it. So I was a good person who ate everything. I never complained about food. Okay. Now, the world often goes gaga over new varieties, new species. About, I think, 2-3 years back, we had the world go crazy about Eugeenoids, which was such a buzzword. Now, as somebody who has tasted Eugeenoids, I can tell you it is not a cup I want every day. It would require somebody to have a really open mind to taste it. If people are so open to such diversity of tastes, why not Canephora? What is going wrong?
Yeah, sorry. I don't think it's going so wrong anymore. I think we're kind of jumping over the negative stigmas, especially maybe in my bubble right now. So people are becoming more and more open to it.
Okay.
Maybe still the kind of the stigma of, oh, it's the cheap coffee, why don't I have something better, is playing a part of why people don't choose to drink it in a specialty setting. But yeah, I think it's thankfully becoming less and less of a problem.
You want to know my comment from Eugenoids when I cupped it? I have my cupping notes. What I had written after tasting it is, boozy like overripe fruits, the grape that got alcoholic while still on the bunch. Complex buttery texture, very strong aroma, short aftertaste, long aroma memory, but it kind of grows on you. That's exactly what I've written.
Cool.
So yeah.
Just to add to what you're saying, I don't think people are knocking it as hard as they did in the past.
Yeah.
We did a session recently with about Robustas, and it was a sold out session. There were people all the way back to the entrance, just wanting to know more about Robustas.
Are you sure they were there for Robusta, or were they there to listen to you talk?
Either way, I was blabbering about Robusta, so subliminally something went into their heads about Robusta, so I won't complain. But it is changing. The market has changed so drastically. I mean, the prices itself speaks for itself. When you look at what's happening in the domestic market on Arabicas and Robustas, the Robustas are now selling almost close to what Arabica washed is selling. So there is a pretty decent demand for Robustas. It's a very pleasant thing to see the way it's going, and I'm very bullish about the way Canephora is going to be accepted in the market in the years to come.
I mean, yeah, on this last year, it really feels like all the work everybody's been putting into Canephora is like slowly starting to pay off, right? Like World Coffee Research releasing the first catalog, people writing more about it, people paying more for it, not knocking it as hard, like we've all now, a lot of people have been putting in a lot of work to make that happen, I think. Like from producing amazing coffees, bringing it on competition stages, talking, chatting, organizing events and festivals. Even now we had like a Canephora festival in Frankfurt and Zurich this last year. Like, yeah, I think that the sheer volume of dedicated people like screaming like, look, this is amazing, this is great, like look at us all doing really hard work, please taste it, it's cool. And yeah, now it's kind of like people are like, yeah, it is good for you guys, good job. Yeah, so it's better late than never, eh? But I think it's only gonna get better, or I'm very optimistic.
Yeah, no, Mick, the good thing is the hard work of the grower is now being accepted by the roaster. It's being accepted by the cafe owner. Because initially, if the cafe owner and the roaster themselves are not convinced on the beverage, you're not going to be able to push it onto a consumer. And the first step is getting the roaster or the cafe owner to accept it, that it's not a bad drink. There is something to it. There is benefit in using it. And as soon as people started noticing it, again, when you come back to an Indian scenario, we're at such a beginning stage of our journey in coffee that we are now bouncing off from, okay, I know what washed coffee is. Now, what else is new? What are the new funky notes of coffee that I can get? Or what are the different types of experimentations I can do? What can I add to the coffee? Okay, now I've done this. I've tasted this. I've tasted banana in my coffee. I've tasted apples in my coffee. what else is new, and we are now automatically guiding the market into Canephora. And I think it's that beautiful, gentle push and that nudge that we're giving the market to start tasting Canephora and to widen their taste palette. It's a nice way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is so interesting to taste them as well. I mean, just the sheer variety of flavors is amazing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I'm having a little network glitch. Are you able to see me or hear me properly?
Yeah. You disappeared for a second, but you're back.
Okay. Because I think there's a network disturbance. Both of you are on a loading circle. But if you can hear me fine, I think we can keep going. Because there's nothing I can do to bring the network back. It's thanks to the Ambanis to take care of it. I can't do anything.
Ooh,
okay.
Shots
In the
fired.
face of climate change, sorry?
I said shots fired.
That wasn't clear.
It doesn't matter.
Because you were on loading.
I love it.
You both cracked a joke on me and are not telling me about it. Okay.
No, it wasn't about you.
Okay. Yeah. You do know that I will get a recording of this, right? And I will be posting it so I can hear it.
And then you'll know that it wasn't a joke about you. I just said shots fired when you said it's up to the Ambanis to repair it.
Okay. All right. In the face of climate change, Canephoras are getting a lot of attention because they're being hailed as the knight in shining armor that will save coffee. Do you think Canephoras can actually be that? Can they protect coffee against climate change? Are they causing problems to the environment? Are they not causing problems? How is it?
From the point of view of Arabicas, the Arabicas have been struggling with the way the climate has been changing. Rainfall has been very questionable. Sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. It's susceptible to pests and diseases a lot more than the Robustas. The cost of cultivation is way more. When you look at the cost of cultivation is more when you compare it to the Robustas. So from a growing angle, I can understand why a lot more growers are pulling out Arabicas and planting up Robustas. I don't blame it purely on climate change. It's also got to do with the economics of it. The weather is getting hotter, no doubt. So the Arabicas are kind of struggling. Yields are dropping, but the reason why they would call it a knight in shining armor is because when Arabicas die, the Robustas are going to be the ones that survive. I can be wrong on this, but this is just my take of what is happening in and around my area.
So you're saying that Canephoras can be the last man standing?
Yeah, because I think everybody here knows what white stem borer is. Mick, I'm sure you know what white stem borer is.
Sorry, say that again?
Do you know what white stem borer is? Yeah. So for the viewers or people who are listening on, white stem borer is this little beetle that bores a hole only in the Arabica plant. It bores a hole into the stem, lays its eggs, and then maybe in 45 days or 60 days it dies, and then these babies come out and they just keep on going. And the only way we can control it as growers is you cut the plant and you burn it. Now, when you cut the plant and you burn it, you've lost crop for the next 4 or 5 years till your new planting comes in. And every plant you cut is money lost. So from the economics of it, it does not make sense. And Robusta is hardy. It's not affected by white stem borer, at least from what we have seen. So yeah, like you rightly said, Canephora will be the last plant standing.
do you think that's also because Canephora has so much more genetic diversity, even within like single farms? Because Arabica is mostly monocultures, right? So it kind of makes sense that their health declines and they're like attacked by pests, like the beetle that's just like fucking it over.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
would you say that Canephora plants kind of tend to stay healthier through these changes?
What we've noticed is the life cycle of the Canephora is a lot longer than in Arabica.
Okay.
The Arabica requires to be replanted within 40 years. Is when you'll start seeing the economic viability of the plant starting to drop, the yields start dropping.
Okay.
Already, all our yields are wavering between 300 to 500 kgs per acre. And as soon as you start noticing it dropping, with all the costs going up, it does not make sense for us to continue with Arabicas. We are noticing it in the rest of the world. Vietnam is also started, the Arabica growing areas are all being replanted with Robustas. Every location that you see, when you look at the statistics of what's happening, you're seeing a lot more Canephora coming into the market than the Arabicas.
Yeah, makes
Okay.
sense.
I think that would also be the case with leaf rust because Canephoras cannot get affected as Arabicas would with the CLR.
Oh, I mean, don't get me started with the issues that we have with Arabicas. It's leaf rust, it's black rot, it's white stem borer, it's a lot of things. It's a lot of things. So just getting harder and harder to try and maintain the Arabica plants.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh.
So again, another question for the production side, but so currently the production of Canephoras is concentrated majorly to 6 countries who produce about 95% of the world's Canephoras. And the other countries, there are some who are decreasing their production. There are some who had earlier restricted themselves only to Arabicas but are now taking up Canephoras. So what are the trends that you're seeing in general at the origin?
Sorry, who's that question for? Amit, you can answer that.
Oh no, that's definitely not a question for me.
Bobby, could you just repeat that question, please? I lost a bit of that.
So currently, the production of Canephoras is concentrated in 6 countries of the world who produce about 95% of the global Canephoras by volume. Now, there are some countries who are decreasing from the others, not these 6 others who are reducing their production of Canephoras, and there are some, for example, say Guatemala, who earlier did not produce Canephoras but is now taking it up. So what are the trends you're seeing at origin?
So I think I answered that question in the last one, where I was saying that we are noticing a lot more production of Canephora coming in versus the Arabicas. Even when you look at the statistics of India, the planting area of Canephora versus Arabica is going up, and the Arabicas is coming down. So from the origin point of view, in India, we are noticing a lot more Robustas starting to be replanted over the Arabicas. And I think even the non-conventional areas, we'll see a little bit of Arabica, but there will also be Robustas being planted in. So that is the trend. I think there's going to be a little bit more Canephoras in. Mick, when you travel around, what are you seeing? Do you see more Canephoras?
As in cafes and roasteries?
Yes, and at Origins, do you travel to Origin?
I have not yet, no.
Yeah. You should come to India.
So this is why I don't want to answer that question because I have no. You are my eyes in that regard. I can tell you that I do see more kind of forests from different origins though, like appearing in cafes and roasteries. And I know in the beginning we were receiving a lot of samples from Vietnam or from India with Canephora, but the last 2 years we have received also samples from Guatemala, and we have received Canephora samples from Peru. So these are origins that I didn't associate with Canephora at all back in the days, but now this is definitely becoming a thing, which is great to see.
It is, and I think the way the market prices are also going. Again, it all boils down to economics of it. Look at the way the pricing is going. It's more viable for a grower to plant Robustas over the Arabicas. I'm an Arabica grower. I love my Arabicas. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to bring down Arabicas, but this is what we are noticing.
Okay. Yeah, I think Arabica might become a kind of a rarity or like a little special treat in the future. Let's see.
It will see because again, when we come back to the point where you were talking about climate change, Bhavi, the hotter it gets, the more incidents of pests come in. For example, last year in India, we got about 180 inches of rainfall. It was an excessive rain period, and we did not have a single incident of white stem borer, or the incidence of white stem borer was so minuscule compared to what we are facing this year. So I would have lost maybe one plant per acre. Your phone fell again.
It's a careful balance on the charger cable.
Yeah. And this year, when we come and look at the weather, we are at about 80 inches of rainfall. It's much lower than what we normally get. We are seeing the numbers of white stem borer has gone up exponentially. We are at about 5 plants per acre now, which we are uprooting and burning. We've had a higher incidence of berry borer, so a lot more pest attack is being noticed in the Arabicas than the Robustas.
Yeah, it's funny because of course I think roasters also hear these things, and we are aware of the problems that are becoming increasingly damaging for the plants. But I think the thing I'm hearing like most whenever this topic does arise is like it's difficult, but it's going to be okay. And sometimes like, yeah, I don't know if it's going to be okay. I think we might need to find some other solutions. So, no, it's going to be okay. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't want to say either way, but at the very least, I just don't know.
Okay, so now I have a statistics that I'm going to say, and I will like to know what you think. How does that happen? Okay. So despite the resilience and the hardiness of the Canephoras that we've established, it is projected that by 2040, the world could have a Canephora shortage of up to 35 million bags. How does that happen? Is the demand going up? Is the supply matching? Is it both? Somebody stole the Canephora while it was getting shipped. That's happening. I mean, pirates can take down ships, so you never know.
It's a valuable commodity to steal. But I think it's just the population growth. People having more children. The average age in the world is a young population. People are enjoying coffee, so I have a feeling it's purely because of the population expansion and a limited area to grow coffee. Coffee will not grow everywhere. Yes, they're starting to do it in labs, but the natural growth of coffee is only in very suitable climatic conditions. So if you're not going to be able to expand the production or get varietals that are going to give you crop, say 3 tons, 4 tons per acre, we're going to have a shortage purely because of the demand.
Yeah, I think maybe we can just get used to drinking a little less coffee in the future,
Oh, don't say that.
Well, no, just a little bit, and I don't even mean actual coffee. Well, I don't know, like the demand for beans that production of instant coffee itself demands. You know, it's a lot. I mean, like what Nestle is demanding to buy, or what it needs to buy to produce the Nescafe they need to produce, is amazing. And maybe there is just an alternative to that also. Maybe it doesn't need to be made of coffee. I don't know if there is, yeah, I just don't know. I don't know if we can replace the caffeine from somewhere else.
I think they're trying to do that.
Yeah.
There is a lot of research going into seeing how they can make lab grown coffee and artificial coffee,
Yeah.
which will, you know, substitute natural coffees, and natural coffees will become like high-end scotch and wine, very expensive to consume.
Yeah, what do you think about that?
As a grower, I'm very happy, but as an enjoyer of coffee, I'm not,
Okay.
because we want more people
But
to
you
enjoy the
cannot
drink.
have you produce.
I anyway do that, but it's more from the perspective of the drink. We want more people to enjoy the drink, enjoy the hard work that we put into it. And you guys as roasters and baristas are also doing a lot of work, because y'all are manipulating the roast and getting the flavor profiles right. And you want more people to enjoy the coffee. It's not just that, okay, I want only the rich people to enjoy the coffee. It should become like similar to how tea is in India. It's a common man's drink where everybody enjoys a cup of tea. You know, you see the very wealthy to the very poor enjoying the same cup of tea. It should be the same way with coffee. So I hope it doesn't become a luxury item. It's already being branded as a luxury drink,
Yeah.
which is, you know, it's good and bad.
Yeah.
As a grower, right now, I won't complain, because we're all sitting in a very precarious position from a plantation front.
Okay. But I definitely agree with the points that, yeah, I definitely want more people to drink nice coffee. So yeah, I don't know how to deal with the demands versus production aspect like that. Of course, it's a problem, but yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Okay. We'll try
You know what
to
I
make
think?
it. Yeah.
I honestly think we're going to always find alternatives and solutions to make the drink available for people.
I think so too.
It's phenomenal to see how the scoring system on commercial coffees have also improved. Earlier on, when you looked at commercial Arabicas, we would always give it a score of between 75 and 78. And now you can get very good commercial coffee scoring 80, 81. So
Yeah,
I
that's
think
true.
we will be able to find an alternative and a solution to making it accessible to everyone.
That's the dream.
Okay.
True.
Cool.
All right. So we know that there is a considerable gap in the research funding in coffee. The amount of money that research requires and the amount of money research actually gets, there is a huge gap. Now, most times when that research finally happens, it's either pretty generic, which means it is about Arabica, or it is actually about Arabica. It rarely is a Canephora specific study. Forget the other species and varieties. So how can that be changed? Because I'm pretty sure you can't grow a Canephora exactly like you would grow a Arabica. You can't roast a Canephora like you'd roast an Arabica. You can't brew a Canephora like you'd brew an Arabica. So to establish all that, research is helpful. For example, espresso machines will have to be tweaked a little differently to extract a shot of espresso and of a Canephora, I'm guessing. Ditto for roasters, you would have to do something different. At the farm level, there will be some different practices. Maybe the response to inputs is different because the pests are different. There's differences basically, but there's not a lot of research to help or guide on that the way you'd find for Arabica. So how do you help
Right.
plug that, or what can be done?
I think the main reason why there's so much of research going in towards the Arabicas is purely because of what we've been discussing. Arabicas are struggling right now. There has to be a solution on how we can continue to have Arabicas survive given the climatic conditions and the difficulties the grower is facing in protecting the estate. So the Canephora is a hardy plant. It looks after itself. You're able to irrigate. You're able to do a lot more things to manipulate the plant. So I think that is purely the reason why, at least from an India perspective, we're seeing a lot more research going in towards an Arabica, and also because we are catering to the market. Like Mick was saying, it's a difficult proposition to force the Canephoras onto people. So right now, the easiest thing to make people enjoy coffee is give them more Arabicas. So the research is going in towards the Arabicas because that's what the market wants. It's as soon as you start seeing the market switch to saying, okay, now I don't mind drinking 100% Canephora, you'll see a lot more research going into this because you ask any research company, any medicine company, they will do the research only if they see benefit in revenue return. They will not do it where there is no demand. So the demand right now is Arabicas, so that's why we see a lot more research.
The funniest thing was when I pulled up the statistics for the research gap, because this was a study done by World Coffee Research last year in partnership with another agency. Even that wasn't specific to Arabica or Robusta. It was a generic study, and they had mentioned it there that the numbers are not specific to any species, but since there's already a gap, we are pretty sure Canephora will have it worse. Like the study for research funding gap is also not specific.
Yeah, you're right.
So yeah, Mick, anything you'd like to say? Because I know there was a session in the first Caneforum where La Marzocco people were there, and there was a very open discussion about how the machines can be tweaked to help with extracting Canephora, right? Something like that had happened.
I think at the second Caneforum in Zurich, this was discussed further. Now, I don't remember who did the presentation, but I was told that there was someone who talked about making espresso with Canephora and quite extensively. So I definitely need to catch up on it. Although, to be honest, me personally, I'm not an espresso geek. I can take it or leave it. I'm a very much a filter coffee person, and a tasting person. I'm not really into hardware or machines, so this part I really need to make myself catch up on to stay with the times. Otherwise, I just ignore it. Yeah, but yeah, maybe to increase the demands, I would say that we are doing some like small, now I wouldn't call it research, but experiments, and yeah, improving roasting curves and measuring extraction, seeing what tastes good at what levels, or with concentrations, ratios. I think these small things are already helpful with kind of, yeah, and you know, it helps roasters and baristas sell it. So these little experiments are definitely good. And yeah, with roasting, I think we did some good work already. When we started in roasting Canephora 2020, it's very difficult to find any information about it, really, like roasting. But yeah, I think in Brazil there's a lot of information also on the because people there are very experienced with roasting Canephora and doing it very well. So I translated a lot of Portuguese websites to kind of find out more information. You know, the CQI website with the Robusta roasting protocol was the most unhelpful, because it tells you to, yeah, just roast it almost to the second crack, which is, you know, no. Yeah, but we are doing good progress and learning how to actually develop the beans, so yeah, we can kind of appreciate the flavor profiles and then make the decisions whether we want to roast it darker or lighter. But we still need to kind of make that decision consciously as roasters to, I want this to be a dark roast and I want this to taste like this and that and nutty and chocolatey and just full bodied and espresso, or but we should be able to do the exact opposite and choose a coffee that has floral fruity notes and be able to showcase that in Canephora also, if we just yeah.
All right. So now I'm seeing a new category in the market, not yet in India, but globally, about naturally low caffeine varieties, like say an Aramosa. Do you think we could have a naturally low caffeine Canephora being developed at some point in time?
But isn't that the characteristic that we all love of the Canephora?
Yeah. Yeah, now personally, I cannot relate to the demand for low caffeine species. You know, we work more than ever and we party more than ever, so I would assume we need more caffeine and not less. Maybe I am wrong.
But then this is a category that is actually picking up, and one of these varieties that is developed is Aramosa, which is a cross between Arabica and Racemosa, and it has a very unique flavor profile because Racemosa, like eugenoids, requires a really open mind to be able to taste, and when crossed with Arabica, it becomes a whole different characteristic altogether, and it has much lower caffeine because Racemosa has like 1% or less than 1% caffeine.
Yeah.
And there is a demand for that because at one point the market demand was towards decaf. Now people are moving away from decaf. They want caffeine, but little bit, not too much.
So I tasted a really interesting coffee from Rani she's in Indonesia, and she started doing this process called luwak without luwak. So kind of like fermentation tanks imitating the process of the original coffee luwak. Now the flavor was really interesting and I think quite approachable also for a wider audience. But she said that the caffeine was decreased by, I don't have the exact number, but I want to say like 60% or so. So that's quite a bit. And yeah, maybe if we can do that with Canephora also, it would be nice. Not only for the lower caffeine, but selfishly, I also really enjoyed the flavor.
Look, I think again.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
No, you were thinking something. Say it.
No, I was just saying again. It all. If the demand is there, 100% the research is going to be in on how do I produce a low caffeine Canephora, and it's just time. Things are going to change. We're going to see the industry completely switch, and scientists can do wonders. You want a coffee that doesn't taste like coffee? I'm sure they're going to make it soon. So it's there.
If there is clear ketchup, anything can happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was such a thing, clear ketchup by Heinz.
I remember green ketchup growing up as well. It's very disturbing.
Yeah, it's just like what Bhavi said.
Exactly like
not pink strawberry ice cream.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Your brain cannot accept it because you can't accept a ketchup unless you hit the bottle 2-3 times and then try to squeeze it out. It won't come, and then it'll blast, and you'll have red ketchup flying everywhere. Then you feel you've had ketchup.
I can relate to this so well because I love ketchup.
The thing is, in India, ketchup bottles are of glass, so you can't even hit it too much.
Oh, I see. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay, next question. Now, generally, roasters will have particular requirements in mind. They will want a continuous availability of Canephoras at a low price without compromising on the quality. Producers will have their own requirements. They want drought resistance, they want pest resistance, they want heat tolerance. How can there be a win-win where everybody gets everything?
Wow.
You you guys should keep talking so I know that I've not lost both of you and I still have you. So you should keep talking or doing something so I know you're there.
Your questions are stumping us. It actually makes
You
us
can
think
eat,
before
so
we
maybe you
answer.
can move your arms or something so I know you're there. Maybe you can drop your phone so I know you're there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Both of you freeze after I ask a question and I'm like, did I lose them? Is there a network issue? Is something wrong?
No,
Okay.
I think we are right now in a place where prices are more or less fair. We're in a position where uh, the grower is benefiting, the consumer is benefiting, as well as the cafe owner. Uh, as long as the prices are not determined by a trading house, it is being determined based on what is actually happening at the farm level, and the farmer is able to sustain by the quantum that he is getting by the sale. It is always going to be a win-win. The price rejig that took place year before last and last year was has taken 10 years. Mick, just to tell you, I joined our company in 2010. And in 2010, in rupee terms, we were selling our Arabicas at 350 rupees a kilo. And it was 350 rupees all the way up to 2021. All right. And right through the year, we've been having escalation of fuel prices. We've been having escalation of wages, escalation of fertilizers and inputs and everything. My input cost went up, but my sale price remained the same. So in effect, we were the ones subsidizing the cost for the consumer. And when the price went up in 2022, it went up considerably. People felt it. You know, it was a big jump.
Brazil frost, right? The two
It
frosts
was
back to back of Brazil got.
it was based on that. It was also based on a lot of other factors. I think freight costs, all sorts of things started happening. It wasn't
COVID
purely only
basically
because.
shook things up.
Sorry.
COVID shook things up. Your
It
shipping
short
cost and
things up.
everything went up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And and what I'm trying to come to as a point is there has to be a year-on-year increase in the sale price of coffee if the grower is to be able to sustain this continuous increase of cost. I mean, I know we're talking about it from a food angle, and food cannot keep up to pace with manufacturing, but it has to. When the price of a car goes up, say for 2 lakhs, everyone is okay. Oh, all right, car that costed 10 lakhs last year now costs 12 lakhs. All right, I get it. Input costs have gone up. But when the price of coffee goes up, oh, price of coffee has gone up. How is that fair? Oh, I can't enjoy my cup of coffee. I have to cut down from 5 cups to 4 cups. Think about it from
Oh.
the think about it from the farmer's angle. So as long as we are able to break away from a commodity cycle or a commodity market, and it is purely based on demand and supply, I think it's going to be a win-win. But
For sure.
that is wishful thinking, to be honest with you.
For sure. Yeah, I think I agree with everything you said. To add to that, maybe sometimes I'm a little concerned with the demands, but not necessarily the volume of the demand, but what roasters are looking for. You know, like you switching your production to more and more Robusta, and I don't know, buyers looking for more and more Sudan Rumé, which is the thing that we're getting less and less of. Yeah, so I think that's something to pay attention to as well, so that, you know, the demands of roasters are kind of aligned with what's possible from where we buy it from.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see. I don't have the. Sorry.
What?
I think the roasters and the cafe owners are trying their best to try and support the growers. The people that we deal with, the people who we sell to, are absolutely phenomenal, Mick.
Amazing.
I have utmost respect for my buyers. They want the farm to do well, so the prices that we get are well over what the commercial prices are. But if you want more farmers to survive, I think more buyers, more traders, more exporters have to start seeing it this way. Because when you look at India, I can't talk about the rest of the world, but when I look at what's happening in India, I see a lot of estates up for sale. A lot of farms are up for sale. People don't want to continue farming coffee in India. They would rather sell and get out because it's very, very tough. So I think it has to change. A change has to take place.
Agreed.
Okay. Now, how is producing Canephora different from producing Arabica? Now I'm getting to very specific questions.
Producing Canephora is a lot easier. Even the way you handle the plant. You know, with Arabica,
and when you say easier,
we have to.
You mean relatively easier because you just said producing is not easy. So.
No, now we're comparing Arabica to Canephora, so it's night and day. We won't talk about economics of it because I think everyone knows it's an expensive affair. But just purely on how you would handle the plant and how the plant comes up, it's a lot easier. The Robustas grow on a slightly lower elevation, so I'm able to manipulate the environment. I can overhead irrigate the entire estate. So even if rainfall fails, I can artificially provide rainfall. I can initiate blossom. I can provide backing irrigation. So I'm more or less covering myself. Whereas with Arabicas being on a higher elevation, being on a steep hill, I can't have tanks and dams, which may lead to ecological disasters. So from that point of view, it's a lot easier for me to ensure that I get a standard crop from the Canephora versus the Arabicas. Coming to the handling of the plant, the Canephora is just a super plant. I mean, I have such tremendous respect for Mother Nature. I mean, which other creature would reward you for hurting it? You know, if I hit you, Mick, you'd probably punch me down to the ground and make me into pulp. But with the Robusta, when I cut it, from the branch that I cut, I get 3 new shoots coming out where I get more crop. So it's a lot easier to handle the Canephora versus the Arabica, where the Arabica is like a very, very delicate lady. You need to know how to treat her. You know how you must wine and dine her to get what you want, and it's exactly that. So it's a lot easier, basically. In a nutshell, anyone can grow a Canephora. The Arabica makes you work for it.
Fair. Yeah. I think, yeah, as then like with roasting Canephora, for example, it's sort of, you know, it's a little similar in a way, because while the roasting process is a little different, our ability to taste roasting defects in Canephora cups, I think, is a lot less. It's a lot harder to detect roasting, like small minor flicks in a roast curve in Canephora than it is in Arabica, which I think is a huge advantage to roasters also.
Okay.
So you're able to hide defects in Canephora?
Well, not defects, but roasting defects, I would say yes.
Oh,
No, not major ones,
right.
but you know, sometimes
Then
for
I
Arabicas we're really copying for small flicks and little things that we saw go wrong, and very often we can taste them in Canephora. It's a lot harder. Now, I'm not sure whether that's because we're not so used to copying so many Canephoras, but I do feel like it's a lot more robust, not just in how it grows or how it responds to its environment, but also it's a lot harder to fuck it up. When you learn to roast it, once you learn it, it's a lot harder to make it bad.
right.
No.
So
Anyway.
Canephoras can be a lot more forgiving than Arabicas.
I think so. I think a well-produced Canephora and well-roasted Canephora is just a lot more forgiving in many ways than, you know, it's easier to roast, it's easier to brew. It's it's just an easygoing plant.
Okay. And how much can you manipulate the flavor with post-harvest processing? With Arabica, you can create a lot of profiles. Can you do that with Canephoras? I know, Mick, in your
Yes, you
book, you
can.
describe in much detail about anaerobic naturals and about just naturals and washed and different
I think
Canephoras.
all I
So what's the
know,
range of flavors?
I've tasted an amazing variety, but I don't actually know what's gone into it, you know.
What about you?
I think you can. Look, the processing that we follow has completely changed the profile of our Robusta. Funny story, Mick. We sent our Robusta samples to the US because a client wanted it, and a week went by and I didn't get a reply from him. So I wrote him an email saying, "Hey, what happened?" And he wrote back and he's like, "Oh, unfortunately, your sample didn't get accepted." So I was very surprised because I know my Robustas are very good based on the processing that we do. We do a double washing and a prolonged fermentation with a starter and stuff like that. So I wrote to him and I said, "Why did it get rejected?" And he's like, "Oh, your Robustas were a bit too clean for what we were looking at. We were looking at the harshness that we are used to." So I said, "I'm hurt that you didn't accept it, but I take it as a compliment that you said it's a bit too clean." So post-process techniques definitely can tweak and improve the cup profile of the Canephora, and I think more and more growers have understood what they need to do. They've understood how to manipulate the bean to reduce that harshness, that woody note, the papery note, uh, to an extent. I wouldn't say it's completely taken out, but it's removed to an extent, which makes it so much more nicer when you blend it with an Arabica. Again, I'm going back to saying, not saying that you have to have it as a standalone drink, but when you do a blending, it just makes the cup so much more beautiful.
Yeah, but I really like having it as a standalone drink also. I brew it all the time. I really enjoy it.
We're a few. We're a minority in this. So
for now, huh? But yeah, I think now it's gonna become more popular because we are getting better at roasting it and brewing it also, which allows us to kind of serve a really nice pure Canephora as a filter and, you know, do that whole presented the same way an Arabica would be presented, and with the same respect and with the same approach to it in a way that it's like on the same level and it's not something that you, yeah. it's not the cheaper coffee anymore. We did it in Sudhang very very successfully. We were serving I think they still have it. Maybe it's a Napa Payamino variety from Ecuador, from a Chakravarmi cooperative, and I think it was quite popular as a pour over because it really had that beautiful mango almond notes, and of course a little bit harshness in the background maybe, but it was a very interesting filter coffee.
Yeah, see, I mean, the harshness is not, it's not always a bad thing.
It's a
Again,
little
it's
spice.
how we, yeah, it's how we say it, you know. I think we just need to say a bit too spicy in the cup rather than say harsh.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, now we all need a little spice in our lives, I think. So yeah, I don't see why it's a bad thing.
Amen to that.
So here, I think one thing we always say that Canephoras have more caffeine. This is just me adding something to it, not a question. So Canephoras have more caffeine, but there's another thing that Canephoras have more of is pyrazines. And these pyrazines are what give Canephora the good body and the very typical boldness, harshness, earthiness, nuttiness, whatever you want to call it. Because there's a whole bunch of different pyrazine compounds that Arabica does not have enough of. And there's just one or two pyrazines that give you a very nice floral aroma kind of thing. Whereas most of them will inch towards earthiness or nuttiness kind of flavor, which is why Canephora tastes how it does. And the other thing, a lot of researchers have found, not just for coffee, but overall, so how you identify aroma and flavor compounds is through a gas chromatography, right? You will have a whole way to identify different compounds. And there'll be a lot of compounds that are in majority, and there'll be some compounds which are so minute that they can't even be measured. And it is generally these compounds that cannot be measured that have the biggest influence on how the flavor is perceived by us.
Oh
So it's
wow,
like if there is a majority compounds that are there, your nose and your mouth will not experience it as much if you introduce just a tiny minuscule amount of some compound in not even a measurable quantity. Like our senses of flavor, your nose and your mouth are so beautiful that the best machine the human brain could devise to measure these compounds is not smart enough to understand how the senses function.
wow.
Because it's those very tiny compound volumes that will influence your flavor so much. And that's where all these post-harvest processing plays a role, because they manipulate those tiny compounds. The majority is still the same. Those pyrazines are still going to stay the same. But that tiny little ester that got introduced, a fruity ester that came in, and that gave you that mango note.
Crazy.
You're full of fun
That's
facts.
what I enjoy sciencey stuff. Okay. Now we've done how Canephoras are different. Now there is a new flavor wheel being developed for Canephoras, right? I know two people on the team who are doing this research. And I generally find the current flavor wheel that we have, which is Arabica specific, to be very Europe and America centric. It is considerably biased towards the origin, against the origin actually. For example, if you have an Indonesian coffee, say from Sumatra, it will have that very typical earthy note that you will rarely find in other coffees. Now, if you look at the flavor wheel, it will be black or brown in color towards the left side of the wheel, often considered undesirable. But that's not a problem in the coffee. It is just how the coffee is, right?
Yeah.
And that's why we also needed separate wheel for Canephora, because you're not always going to find pineapples and grapes and plums and strawberries in your Canephora.
Yeah, I think Fabiana from Coffee Sensorium is actively working on Canephora wheels, and I think she made one for Brazil maybe already. That's
Fabiana
out there.
and Lucas, they're working on it, yes.
Yeah, so that's pretty awesome.
Plus, I think the flavor wheels are very specific. Like, for example, when a flavor wheel says mango, Now, what I perceive as a mango is different from what Mick you perceive as a mango, is different
sure.
from what Rohan perceives as a mango, because we're all eating different mangoes.
Yeah.
So there's so much subjectivity in it,
Yeah.
right? So my question here is, how can we make things better for Canephora?
I think the first step in doing that is getting people to accept it, to start tasting it, going in blind without any bias against it. Uh, the flavor profile and the flavor wheel that was prepared for Arabica was done over many years. It was borrowed from the wine industry, and then we started tweaking it purely because of the number of years people have been drinking and playing around with it. The manipulations that we put it through on additions of external agents have given us that chance to develop our flavor profiling of the Arabicas. Unfortunately, like what we've been saying right through this live is that Canephora has been given this bad reputation of being the thorny stick that is being thrown around. So when people start tasting it and going in with an open mind, trying to brew it differently, trying to experiment, like you take home brewers in India, they are so particular about the quantum of water, the temperature of the water, the quantum of coffee, and the grind size. They've played around so much with it that they've been able to pull out and figure out on the profile of the coffee and the flavor profiles. They don't do that with the Robustas. They don't do it with the Canephoras because they've not yet reached that stage. As soon as people start playing around, tasting it, manipulating the temperatures and the brewing techniques, 100% people are going to start saying, "Oh, I can taste uh, grass in my coffee," or and when I say grass, I'm not saying it in a bad way. I'm saying the aromas of wet grass and the nicer things, that what we are calling earthy notes of in a defective way. People will start seeing it
Exactly.
Yeah.
as beneficial. So I think that it's a totally different flavor wheel that is going to be developed for Canephora.
In fact, I would like the flavor wheel not to have colors at all, because even the colors are biased. You have all the blacks and browns and all those dark, somber colors with earthiness and all undesirable things apparently. And then comes all your pinks and yellows and oranges with strawberries and pineapples and all those things which are considered desirable.
Yeah.
There's such subtle bias with the colors also.
Now yeah, no, for sure. And
The
to
producer in Indonesia will think my coffee is earthy as it is. What should I do? It is just how it is.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's also like now responsibility of people who now own roasteries and coffee bars, to educate new baristas and coming in. And now when I started working in coffee, like I was definitely told like, oh yeah, it tastes earthy, it's not good, And of course I kept that in my head for a very long time. But imagine I came in and I started working and someone's like, oh look, this Indonesian coffee, oh it tastes nice and earthy and this and that, it would have been a completely different story and a very different attitude I would have spread around me have I been communicated with properly in the first place. So I really like the idea of just, erasing these bad stigmas little by little. Like when I have baristas starting, like one of the first conversations I have with people who are entering into coffee is like how awesome I find Canephora. I don't even talk about that bad stigmas that it has because it's a blank page. You can communicate with people the things you love about the things. And now there is a good chance they will take it and spread that love to other people, whether that customers they are serving it to or whatever. And that's, I think that applies to Canephora. It applies to flavor notes. It applies to so many things in coffee. It's just like how we say it, how we communicate it, Yeah.
Which brings me to my next question. Would offering consumers more information about the origin, about the process, help set better expectations and get consumers to be more open to trying Canephoras? Would it also influence their sensory and hedonic perceptions? Keep moving, guys. Keep moving.
Mick,
I feel you've dropped.
Mick, you want to do this, or shall I answer first?
I want both of you to
So I am all for sharing information to consumers. I'm for explaining what we do, because it basically just tells them how much of an effort has gone into giving them that one cup of coffee. But from a cafe owner's point of view and a roaster's point of view, who's client facing, I do see giving too much information as being too much of a problem. There are people who will start questioning, saying, "Oh, they've done it for 72 hours. Why not? Why didn't they do it for 50 hours?" And people want to show that they know a lot more about a certain topic, and there's a lot of questioning. And the cafe owner and the roaster don't have the time to sit and answer these kind of questions, because the reason why we've done it for 72 hours is because that is the number of hours of fermentation that it has worked to get the flavor profile that we're looking for. I don't think sharing too much information is a good thing in our industry at this point in time. If people are interested, we can speak about it, but giving too much information on a bag, I think, is just asking for trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the same in the cafe, because fermentation is also like, it has nothing to do with a job of a roaster or a barista, we don't ferment anything, and very often we don't really know how it works, or we don't know much about fermentation. Like I have no scientific background in my education, so me being brave on the counter explaining fermentation to a customer and setting certain expectations for this, I think just missing the point. I would definitely like to see. I also like sharing information, but I think good confirmed information that is actually helpful in making a choice is very welcome. Whether ambiguous information like throwing shit at a wall and seeing what sticks, it's just not worth it's just not worth the trouble, right?
So here I have an example from a brand that is generally getting a lot of flack. And I am pretty sure they had a role to play in Canephoras inviting this bad reputation. I'm going to talk about Starbucks. Starbucks in India has a partnership with an Indian company. And I used to hang out there very often because their Wi-Fi is never down. Okay, their Wi-Fi is fantastic. So I can get a lot of work done there. Yeah. And I had this gold membership. Every day I can get a cup of coffee free, and then there are refills, of course. So I get coffee free, I get Wi-Fi free, I can get my work done. So I used to hang out there a lot, and I got to know a lot of baristas there. I got to know the managers there. And when I started talking with them, now I know that every month they have some days where during certain hours, you can go and taste coffees. You get notifications in their app and you can go taste coffees. Even otherwise, sometimes the baristas will come with a tray. They'll ask you if they can take 5 minutes. If you're available, you can say yes. If not, no problem. They come with a pour over kit, and they will come with they have coffees by countries, right? So they will come with different countries, and you can say, okay, this is what you want to try. And they will explain it nicely that this is how the origin is, this is what happens, this is how we are brewing it. They will give you all the details in a very layman terms, because Starbucks in India at least does not brew by volume and weight. They have markings on their jugs. Ooh. Like if you order a tall, then your jug has here marking, that much water you pour. That's all they know. They won't do it on a weighing scale like we do. So they will explain it and you'll get a better understanding. And one time there was a new barista and she did Sumatra with me, and I still have that card somewhere. She very nicely explained everything. And I was like, okay, this is how. And I knew what she was talking about, but it still felt very nice to know about the origin. Now she's not going to tell me about the specific farm, And me sitting here in India, it's not going to make any difference where that farm in Indonesia in some corner of Sumatra was. But it helped me understand more about that coffee, and it was helpful. Pretty sure mentally it makes an impression and influences my perception about that coffee.
No, I think that is what Mick was saying. It is pointed information that will help you make a decision on the coffee, which is relevant.
Yeah.
Again, which is what you are also coming to. What the barista did was talk about the coffee and tell you stuff, fun facts about the coffee. But more technical details on fermentation and how I've done the coffees for the roaster.
For a regular consumer, it wouldn't make a difference whether you fermented it for 72 hours or 720 hours.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Probably don't even understand what's the difference. Yeah. Probably the barista serving it also does not understand the difference.
But imagine a barista saying to a customer, you know, our roaster roasted this to 200 degrees. And the customer saying, but do you have something roasted to 198? Like,
exactly, yeah. Like, or he'll get down to the specific.
Breaking down stuff.
I know somebody I was talking to last week, and they were there with their girlfriend or something. This was some exhibition that was going on, and this guy had a stall there, and this guy comes along with his girlfriend, and he's really trying to impress her. And he's like, can you serve me coffee that has been roasted till the third crack? And the roaster is like, shit, man, I've never heard of this. What the hell is the third crack, man? And his girlfriend is standing next to him, and they're like, what am I even supposed to serve you?
Oh, get out that torch.
Give some coffee. What is third crack? Your roaster is burnt. Everything is burnt now.
The roaster is burnt.
Exactly. You have a roastery on fire.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, but yeah, I don't know. Like I've had a customer that was already maybe 4 years ago that came in and asked what was on the pour over menu, and I explained to him, and now there was a bourbon from Ecuador, I think. And I remember very specifically that person saying, no, they don't like bourbon from anywhere, and they will not drink it, and they want another coffee. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. And I kind of wish I didn't tell them it was a bourbon, you know, because it was such a good coffee, and I don't think they would have cared.
Another thing that has happened to me here, and I think I've told Rohan about it, and we laughed about it. I was at a cafe, and there was a packet of yellow bourbon from Brazil, and I know what yellow bourbon is, and I know it comes from Brazil, but the barista really wanted to explain things to me. He didn't know that I knew. So he's like, Brazil has a special technique by which, see, coffee cherries are generally red, but Brazil has a special technique by which they make their cherries grow yellow. And I'm like, no. Yellow bourbon is the natural state of bourbon. Rest everything is mutations, dude. No matter, they have special techniques for this.
Yeah, you didn't know. You know, they go around with a brush. Yeah.
This is like
picking up the coffee in Brazil is no longer a thing. You know, it's mechanical, but people still go around with brushes and they make it yellow.
Alice in Wonderland style, yes.
Oh, you're
right. As a roaster, Meg, how did you convince? At some point, you'd have had to convince people to give Canephora a chance, making a buying decision, buying Canephora, and then pushing it further down the cafe. How did you do that?
You know, in the very beginning, I wasn't very fond of Canephoras either. So first, I had to convince myself. And once I figured out that it can be roasted in a way that it tastes good to my palate, you know, it was kind of, I'm a very annoying person, like very annoying, you know. once I set my mind to something, like I will bother you about it until you had enough, and you will just give in. And that's kind of how it works with Canephora as well. Yeah, just like, oh, it's so awesome. Can you taste it? Can we buy it? Can we just get one bag? I'll pay for it if you don't want to pay for it. But can we get a bag? Can we sell it? Can we do this? Can we do that? And you know, at some people just give up, or they jump on the hype train, and yeah. If I think if you talk enough, and if you're just like clearly passionate about something, people will just follow at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
You had to convince anybody, Rohan?
We are always convincing people. The Arabica sell themselves. The Canephoras is always a convincing act, and it's not becoming a difficult thing to convince people. I think it's from my point of view, since my point of contact is always the cafe owner or the roaster. It was convincing them to start enjoying a Canephora and seeing the benefit behind why they should use it.
Okay.
And when we did that, and they are starting to see the benefits of it, again, it all boils down to who's client facing. And Mick said it. When he started enjoying it, he started trying to make other people enjoy it. And that's the only way. So we are always trying to convince people. Everyone who comes to the estate, we do a cupping, and the Canephora is always on the table. It is thrown unfairly.
No, it is not always on the table.
You came when there was nothing there. But generally,
on the table. I came towards the end of the Canephora harvest.
End of the Canephora harvest has not rested, then you would definitely not have enjoyed it. You know the drill. We allow it to rest for 45 days. Otherwise, it doesn't do justice to the coffee. But we still throw it in between an Arabica. We still try to give it a fighting chance to shine through. We know it's not going to do well when it's on a table with a washed Arabica, but we still put it there. We still want the people to enjoy, taste it, see why it's different. Open your mind to it, Yep. We know what's on the table, and we tell them, when you're smelling things, just keep it to yourself. Don't make a face. Just enjoy the smell. Taste it. It's different. And the beauty of the Canephora is, or at least the double wash Canephora, it will hold its own against a natural Arabica. Take a slightly inferior natural Arabica, and the Canephora will shine. People will enjoy that over an inferior natural. So there is tremendous scope and hope. And convincing them to buy a Canephora over inferior naturals is an easy task.
Nice, cool.
Mick, are you excited to try his coffee now?
I'm so excited.
I'm sending you a bag as soon as it's ready.
Amazing.
Okay. So is an Robusta blend, like Arabica Robusta blend that Rohan has been talking about throughout the live, a good way to introduce somebody to Canephoras?
Sorry.
Mick?
Oh, is it a good way to introduce someone to Canephoras?
As a starting.
No, I think there's different approaches to this. I think it's kind of an easy way to introduce someone to Canephoras, like a tiny step. But I really like to be more radical with it and find a Canephora that I personally really enjoy, and I spend a lot of time profiling it and coming up with a brew recipe and then showcasing it as a very high quality product to someone. But that's because I'm me, and I hate doing half steps, and I'm very impatient, and I straight away want for you to see, it's like, this is amazing. We've all put into a lot of work and time into this, and it's easy for you to appreciate it then, because it's presented nicely and it's talked about nicely and it tastes amazing. So putting a product in a scenario where you don't need to defend it or even introduce it, but where it just speaks for itself is kind of an ideal scenario for me. But yes, blends are an easy way to introduce it, and I think probably a better way than the way I I go for most of the time.
Yeah, because I think not everybody will have that open in mind. For example, when I went to Vietnam last year and I was there for the Cafe Expo there, majority of the stalls were for Vietnamese coffee and they were serving, of course, Canephoras. And I would go and ask for an espresso 100% Canephora. And I'm not Vietnamese. I don't look Vietnamese. So they'll be like, ma'am, are you sure? We also have a blend with Arabica.
Yeah.
Like, no. Bring it on, 100% Canephora espresso. Ma'am, are you sure we can do a blend with Arabica? Like, give me the espresso, man. In this much time, I would have finished it. So they were like very skeptical to give it to somebody. And there were some foreigners who were also visiting and they were like, you're drinking 100% Canephora espresso, and it was such a shock for them. Caffeine generally doesn't bother me. It doesn't affect me. I can drink a Red Bull right now and still sleep in peace. Nothing will happen. So I'm okay with it, and I enjoy that flavor. It's bold, it's something very different, but I enjoyed it. So it was fun for me. But they also had, like, for them, blends, what I saw in that expo was 70% Canephora, 30% Arabica. In India, it's the other way around.
Yeah.
No, but I have to say, I have noticed a lot of cafes in Germany that don't really promote Canephora or Robusta in any way, or not very proud of serving it. I do see a lot more people incorporating it into their house blends.
Yeah.
And I do hope it's for the flavor and not for reducing costs. I don't know, but yeah, I do see it appearing in blends more and more. And I do think it's a, you know, maybe if we normalize it being in blends and them not tasting bad, then at some point switching to a pure Canephora filter is not going to be such a jump as it might be now from
Plus, Canephoras would work really well with milk and sugar. If you're having, say, a cappuccino or a latte, Canephoras could actually work very well, which is, I'm assuming, the major chunk of business for any cafe, actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
See, I think...
Well. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No.
No, I was just going to agree with you that the house blends having the Robusta is benefiting them on both fronts, economically as well as on the flavor profile. You know, when it's clear to see when we get people to come and have a look at a standalone espresso with an Arabica versus a blend Arabica Robusta espresso, you can see the color difference in the cremas. You can see the body difference. You can feel the punch a lot more in the blend. So I think cafe owners are onto it.
Absolutely.
And 100% the economic angle of it is making the deal a lot sweeter for them. But they're also noticing the flavor profiling being a lot better.
Yeah, when we were designing the Sudhang blends called Quepo, which was supposed to be a very classic tasting coffee, something that can be understood and gotten straight away by anyone, and to have a great quality coffee that tastes familiar, essentially. You know, we went for Canephora straight away. It wasn't a question. We did so many cuppings, and in the end, the one with the most Canephora, so it was like 50-50 blend in the end. It was, you know, the one we liked the best, and it does work really well. I think Canephora also works really, really well with plant-based milks.
Yeah.
So, you know, a lot of like Alpro or Oatly, the plant-based milks, they're becoming super popular, of course, but they are also very sensitive to acidity, right? So if we are trying to pour Oatly into an espresso made with a washed Kenyan, it doesn't look good, and it definitely doesn't taste good. But if we pour it into a Canephora whose acidity is super low, it looks smooth and it tastes sweeter. It's just a better balance. So I very much like to serve Canephoras with plant-based milks. I think it's a good combo.
You know what? I love using a Canephora for, apart from the drinking stuff, making a tiramisu. It makes a fantastic tiramisu.
Absolutely. That is so true.
Yeah. Arabica will never come close to that.
Awesome.
All right. Any tips for brewers? How do you brew Arabica, Canephora differently?
Is that a question for me or?
You both brew Canephoras, you both can talk. Just keep talking so I know that you're not dropped or slept off.
I just said a lot, so Rohan, you go away.
For me, to be honest with you, I have a 60-40 blend of Arabica Robustas, and I don't do manual brews.
You don't drink 100% Robustas, do you?
Not really, because I still enjoy a little bit of the Arabica touch in it. And my morning drink is with milk and sugar, so I have a cappuccino in the morning. But the roast profile that we generally follow is a medium roasted Arabica with a light to medium roasted Robusta. And I think it just accentuates the flavor profile so beautifully in the cup. And I think a lot more people should start enjoying it. And one thing is, I'm noticing the South Indian market, which we cater to, have enjoyed this blend that I'm making, and people are drinking it black. It is mind blowing to see the quantum of coffee that people. These are the people who always said, "Oh, I only like Arabicas. I only like Arabicas," and thanks to my sister-in-law, we've been able to move a little bit of coffees here and there, and people are just enjoying this blend of that is going out. And drink it black. I still can't get over the fact that they enjoy a 60-40 blend of Arabica Robusta black.
So that same blend, awesome. I also drink black. You gave me a bag of that. I'm also drinking it black.
That is true. That is also very true.
Yes. Mick, how would you suggest brewing Canephoras? Like, what would you do differently?
Now, my brewing experience with Canephoras is fairly limited in a way that I brew my own roasts, and I roast them quite specifically, and we tend to roast them a little bit longer and lower temperatures, so we're really trying to avoid scorching the rigid outside of the bean and try to develop it from the inside out as much as possible, and depending on the machine, it's more or less manageable. So yeah, the coffees, and even though the development time is actually like quite long, maybe compared to Arabica, 50% longer almost, the internal color tends to be much lighter.
Yeah.
And most common, I think I brew it as a pour over, like as a filter. And the main difference, I think, is I tend to use slightly lower water temperatures and a bigger bloom. I also like to use, just to increase the acidity of it a little bit. And also I've noticed that Canephora tends to extract a lot faster. So I'm getting a lot of those like smoother, sweeter, more acidic notes with a bigger bloom and with less contact time, right? So this is, I think, a good tip if you are drinking like really light roasted Canephora as a filter. And then it's just playing with the timing and seeing what tastes good, right? For me, I think my favorite Canephora pour-overs are relatively low extraction, so I would say between 15 to 17% would be like a max for me for a pour-over, and I think then it's quite a nice balance that tends to stay nice as it cools down, right? Which is, for me, is very important because I struggle when I brew Canephora and filter. I struggle with it a lot. That when it cools down, it tends to get quite basic.
Yeah.
All the aromas, everything is so beautiful when it's hot, but when it cools down, it's really starting to taste quite simple. And the lower extraction kind of helps to keep that balance, actually. And I also tend to use just a little bit more magnesium in my water for Canephora brews because it does improve the overall perceived sweetness, even though the beans might be a little less sweeter in general. Yeah, good water composition, of course, helps with that a lot.
Helps, yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is the temperature you use, Mick, for brewing?
Now, it really depends on how light I've roasted it, but I tend not to go over 92 degrees. That would be like an absolute max for me. I don't know why, because I'm not a scientist, but every time I brew closer and closer to boiling points, it tends to get dry.
It will.
It's a problem
Yes.
that I don't experience with Arabica. I often brew with very hot water. It's totally fine. I don't know why Canephoras kind of really do get that dry note that I can't get rid of. So I tend to keep it on the low side.
I never go above 90 when I'm brewing 100% Canephora. We don't get that light roasted Canephoras out here anyway, but I would not go above 90 for whatever I've had so far.
Yeah.
I will grind coarser, and I will most definitely bypass. Even when I'm brewing on a pour over, I will reduce my brew water and I will bypass the rest.
Yeah, I think
I've also tried using the bypass water hotter than my brewing water, and that has been a good experience.
That's a good idea. Here, smart. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So your brewing water is below 90, but your bypass is higher.
Cool. Yeah, that's a good.
So
Now,
yeah, I should try that. I should try that tomorrow.
Yeah.
So that compensates and it opens up the flavors really well.
Yeah.
Basically, the logic is you're brewing out a very concentrated cup of all the compounds that you wanted to extract, and then you dilute it out so your senses can perceive it. Another secret trick, I'm still trying to nail the proportion, but it is working for me so far, is to add just a little bit of salt that you can't perceive on your tongue, but it's still there. It's the same logic as your magnesium, because you're just, it's a flavor congruency thing. It will increase your perception of sweetness.
Yeah, for sure.
So just enough salt that you can't perceive it, but it's there. So your sweetness perception goes up.
Yeah.
And the salt I add after the brewing.
Especially if you're working with a Canephora that's not roasted very light, that's a great idea.
Because most of the Canephoras I've had here are not light. Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So these two things, yes. The salt proportion varies by coffee, and a lot of times I'm going intuitively because the volume is so small that the weighing scale won't pick it up.
Cool. No, that's a really good idea.
Both these techniques, bypassing with hotter water and salt, both of them have worked for me. Grind coarser, brew, and 3 pours. I don't do a lot of pours. I don't do a lot of agitation.
Yeah, the number of pours is, I think I do 2 to 3 pours max. Yeah. But yeah, the simpler the better. As I said, Canephoras, like, once they're good quality and everything's kind of done well, they are very forgiving.
Yes.
In a way. Or
plus you're bypassing, so you won't even have so much water to do multiple pours, right? So that's 2 techniques that have very much helped me, and if anybody would like to try and tell me how it went, I'm all ears. All right, I have the very last question. What do you see the future of Canephora to be like? Keep moving, keep moving.
Good.
I'm shaking my head. I heard,
the future of Canephora is very bright. I mean, look, people are talking about it. People are writing about it. You have cafes serving it. You have home brewers wanting to try it out and listen to you talk about it. So I think we're looking at a beautiful stage where people are going to be open-minded. The bias is going to go. We're going to see a lot more countries accepting it, and it's going to soon be very fashionable to say, "Hey, I drink a damn good cup of Canephora from India or wherever it's coming from."
I think it will become the new hipster thing, right? It's like, do you know this new Canephora spot downtown?
God willing.
Stuff.
That's a cool idea, actually.
Yeah. And then there will be the washed Robusta purists, you know, saying, no, you have to have a washed Robusta to have the pure flavor. Fermented Robusta is so 2024.
Yeah.
No, but I also see it as very bright, and I think it will also be funny at times. Hopefully not as I describe now. But
I want to see that happen. It would be so nice.
yeah, that's why I named the book how it is named. Is just because like I don't think it's a good thing if somebody asks me that question at a coffee bar. But I really want to live in a world where it's possible. Like someone comes in, it's like, could I have your the most fermented, funkiest Canephora? I think it would be great. I can't wait. And I can't wait to tell them no. We only have washed this week. Sorry.
Yeah.
I think that
should be
day is coming soon.
Yeah. That's
Maybe I'll go to a cafe and actually do that.
I would love.
I will get a blank
Now,
stare.
if somebody watches this and gets this idea, please go to a cafe and just ask that question. It'll be so great if it's like
You know,
an
Actually get
international
somebody
guy.
to take a video of it, post it as a reel and tag us. We want to see
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, maybe it'll go viral on TikTok. Who knows?
Yes,
Oh,
please.
that'll be brilliant.
Yeah.
All right. That's all the questions I have. Anybody wants to ask anything, say anything, because I have something very, very mind-blowing to say at the end. Lionel, why are you sad? I see your sad comment, Lionel. Why are you sad? Because you joined so late.
Yeah.
Lionel is the barista I know from one of the famous roasteries here, Subco. He's no longer working at Subco, but he's a friend.
Yeah.
And now he's not
I just
telling
want
us.
to thank you both guys. You're both amazing and such great energy. I love it.
No, it was a lot of fun. It was an easy conversation. Totally enjoyed it.
Thank you so much.
Lionel, don't worry. I do post it on Instagram. I also back it up on YouTube. I'll give you the link. Okay, he missed it. He's sad because he missed our fun session. People are sad because they missed our session.
Yeah. Now you snooze, you lose.
Okay,
Yeah.
so what mind-blowing thing I had to tell you is that something I read in a book that I'm reading right now. The book is called Neurogastronomy, which is something I'm very keenly interested in. It is called Neurogastronomy, how the brain creates flavor and why it matters. Now, in this book, there was one chapter that closed with this, and I'm still like wrapping my head around it. So I was like, let's put it out for everybody to wrap their heads around. It says, in sum, each food has its own characteristic molecular composition, modified by how it is prepared. By themselves, foods have no flavor. They are raw materials out of which the brain creates the flavor.
That's pretty mind-blowing.
It is.
No.
So basically, what this book deals with is, before this, I read a book called Mouthfeel, How Texture Creates Taste. Something we don't often perceive consciously, but mouthfeel is like very important. And this book I'm following it up with, How Flavor Creates Taste. What we don't often realize is it's not the tongue doing the most of the job, it's the nose doing most of the job, especially your retronasal pathway. It is when you breathe out that you feel the flavor, not when you breathe in that you feel the flavor. And that's what this quote tries to say, that whatever food is in front of you, it could be an Arabica, it could be a Robusta, by itself it is nothing. It is only what you drink and perceive is the flavor.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It is. This book is absolutely wonderful and everybody should read it. It's not that technical. Anything that is technical can be Googled. Sorry? Neurogastronomy. It's by Gordon Shepherd. Yeah.
Okay.
The book I read before it is called Mouthfeel, How Texture Makes Taste. That is also a wonderful book.
Thank you.
No problem. I'm like just 60, 70 pages into this book, and every page is like so mind-blowing, because what do we do when we cup? We inhale. We all inhale, right? The moment we break the crust, we inhale. But that's not how you perceive flavor. Your system is designed to perceive flavor when you exhale. It's a retronasal pathway that determines what flavor you're feeling, not sniffing.
Wow.
This is something actually Hoffman also discusses in his latest book, the last book that he wrote, How to Brew Good Coffee, something like that. He discusses the same thing in that it's a retronasal pathway to feel flavor. We're all sniffing everything, but that's not what gives you flavor. It is the exhalation that gives you flavor.
Yeah. I wonder. Yeah, because when I cup coffee, I really hate spitting out, you know, because I don't get I always feel like I'm getting half an image. Okay.
It's when you hold that coffee in your mouth and you breathe out, that's when those aromatic compounds go from your mouth to your nose.
Crazy.
And that's when you feel things. So next time
you learn something every day when you talk to Bobby.
Yes, there is never a dull day around me, ever.
Okay, I'm looking forward to many more chats with you.
Anytime. Rohan knows I don't sleep. I actually don't sleep. You'll find me awake at all hours, yes.
Okay, good to know.
Yes, I moonlight as a vampire. My hours are just about to begin, yes.
Okay, now you inspired me to go and make myself some coffee as well.
What time is it there? It should be like what, 7:38?
7:40, yeah.
It's past midnight for us.
Oh,
and
damn.
I know Rohan is like super sleepy.
Did I see you drinking coffee just before, Rohan?
No, it cannot be coffee.
It was a Red Bull. It's well past my bedtime.
You were drinking Red Bull? Then Rohan can stay. I don't have to worry.
I'm normally in bed by 9:30, Mick. So this is me pushing it. No, not at all. I've enjoyed it.
Rohan to be on this live. Before I told him why I'm asking, my first question was, how much of a problem is it if I ask you to stay out of bed past your bedtime, say like 10 o'clock? It's like, what do you want to do? Like, first tell me, can you do it? Then I'll ask you why I'm asking. So very likely when like God was distributing caffeine tolerance and intolerance, I was not in that line. So probably Rohan corrected my quota. Because caffeine doesn't bother me. You can give me anything. I'll still go to sleep.
Okay. I thought you don't sleep, but okay.
No, but this was a lot of fun. Thank you both. An easy conversation.
Yes.
Thank you. Super nice.
And the most important learning for you both is the next time somebody says, please tell 3 words, it means 3 words.
That's a lesson I'll remember for sure.
Yes. Yeah. Very important.
Done.
Thank you.
All right.
Both of you, please try my brewing experiment about the bypass with hot water and the salt.
Yeah, I will let you know how that goes.
Especially if you have sea salt that is not iodized, like pure salt, that would be even better.
Now, I feel like Netherlands has salt that's not very salty, so I don't know. Let's see.
I came to this logic because this is what is done even for dark chocolate. The really very dark chocolate is very often served with salt, sea salt, flaky sea salt.
Yeah, true. Okay.
And the only reason that is done is because it increases your sweetness perception. So if it can work for chocolate, it can work for coffee, it can work for everything. And if you feel even more experimental, infuse your salt with vanilla, used vanilla beans, infuse it and sprinkle it on top of your ice cream and then see the magic.
Oh, yo. That sounds good.
Outstanding.
Cool.
Okay.
All right.
You both stopped moving, so I didn't know if you were still there. Yes.
No, we're here.
All right. I'm going to close this session. It was a lot of fun. I hope I gave everybody some food for thought.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Especially with
You
the
sure
last
did.
thing that I mentioned about flavor perception. I'm going to post this video, so if you both can be there for 5 minutes, hang around, stay awake, whatever, so you can accept the collab credits when I roll it out. It would be nice, and maybe by Monday-ish, I will back it up on YouTube and send you all a link.
Amazing.
Sounds good.
Thank you so much. Mick,
Bye.
I really hope I get to meet you in person someday.
Me
It will
too.
happen.
Me too.
It will happen. It will happen.
Yes.
All right.
All right.
Thank you both. Thank you.
Good night, both of
guys. See
you.
you
Thank
soon.
you for giving me your time.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Sleep well.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.